Okay, I think we are live. So, welcome everyone to Pitch on Demand. This is a Screen Producers Australia initiative, and this is the third iteration of Pitch on Demand. And we have today a commissioner brief from Foxtel Group presented by Lana Greenhalgh, who's the head of scripted originals at Foxtel Group. So I'll just begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners of all the lands on which we live and work. And for me, that is the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and to whom I pay respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. So my name is Jessica Giacco. I'm the Industry Programs Manager at SPA, and I'd like to welcome Lana Greenhalgh today. Lana, I'm just going to read your bio very quickly. So Lana's career began in talent management, which gave her the beginnings of insight to discovering what audience wanted from their talent, but her passion for drama led to Foxtel in 2015. Where she worked as a scripted production coordinator across Foxtel's scripted production and development slate, including Wentworth, A Place to Call Home, Picnic at Hanging Rock, Australia Day, Secret City, Under the Eagle, Lambs of God, The End, and Upright. Lana's progression and love of television drama led to becoming a development executive, and has most recently been promoted to head of scripted originals for the Foxtel Group just this year. Congratulations, Lana. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the role and what it covers at Foxtel Group?
Sure. So as head of scripted originals at the Foxtel Group, I oversee commissioning, development, and the entire pitch process for Binge, which is our streaming platform, and the existing Foxtel platform as well. So part of that is managing a slate of projects in development and overseeing production across the board as well.
Thanks. And can you tell us a little bit about how that commissioning works at the Foxtel Group?
Sure. So essentially, internally, we look at international trends, what our pipeline of content looks like from exclusive content deals from around the world, as well as what our customers seem to be craving, what they're looking for, what they're watching most of, and come up with an internal strategy about what we feel like we should be making locally. I then execute on that strategy by pitching to market, receiving pitches back from all practitioners, whether they're producers, writers, directors, actors directly. And if it's an idea that meets the brief and that makes us all sit up and say, oh my God, we have to make this, then we put it into development. And that's a process that can take, some time, anywhere between 9 months to 5 years of development, depending on the creative. And from that point, we finance or help the production partners finance the show, go into production, and then we put it to air.
Wow, thank you. And so Binge, talk a little bit about Binge. So Binge has grown pretty quickly in a very short time. Can you tell us what makes for a great Binge original?
Sure. I think what makes a great Binge original is something that is distinctly Australian, but not achingly Australian. So therefore is perhaps set in Australia, or that has Australian characters, but that is premium in quality and that has universal themes, so that it really elevates our Australian shows to sit alongside our international offering. So, a great Binge original show would be something that sits on the carousel alongside Euphoria and White Lotus and Succession and Barry, something that's going to offer, a real juicy insight, conversation starting stories, but that are distinctly Australian, but premium in tone. So it's exciting. I love commissioning for Binge because we have such amazing content. And I'm very proud to be part of the crew that puts together the Australian locals to sit alongside that international offering.
Fantastic. And could you tell us a little bit about the current commission slate of programs you've got on board?
Oh my goodness, I didn't research this question, Jess. What can I talk about? So, I see the slate in sort of two ways. So I have my production slate and I have my development slate. So most of what's on our development slate is not announced. Some of them are, like Colin from Accounts Season 2 we announced. So we're in active development on that right now, which is very exciting. And then, so in terms of the production slate, equally, some have not been announced and some have. But what I think I'm really proud of with the slate at the moment is that we have something that sort of ticks almost every box at the moment. There's always boxes still unticked, of course, but we have, for example, High Country, which is an 8 by 1 hour mystery thriller series starring Leah Purcell, set in the Victorian High Country. That's currently in post-production, as is Strife, which is an 8 by half hour drama with comedy starring Asha Keddy, which is set in Sydney, and it's actually kind of period. It's set in 2012. So there's a real variety in the slate, but they're two examples of two very distinctly Australian but premium projects that attracted A-list cast that will sit alongside the best premium offering from the rest of the world, but that are very different in tone, and I think will hopefully attract a broad customer demographic as a result. So that's sort of, yeah, they're two examples anyway that I can speak to.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And could you tell us a little bit about one of these commissions, how the process worked in bringing it together? Like maybe Love Me could be an
Sure.
example. Yeah.
Yes. So Love Me was a title that Warner Brothers Australia brought to us. So it's based on existing IP, a Swedish show. So but I think it was the same format, so 6 by 45 minutes, or give or take. And Hamish Lewis, the head of scripted, sent me a link to watch the series and said, you know, would you consider adapting this for an Australian audience? And the second I watched, I got so excited because Alison Herbert Burns, my boss, internally had literally just said, you know, has anyone pitched anything about love? We're looking for sort of tonally lighter stories that don't shy away from deep themes still. So I was really excited when I could answer and say, yes, I have something that might fit the box. So Hamish basically sent me the links. I watched the show in Swedish, and then we went into a very fast development process. Hamish and I worked on pulling a writer's room together, and we had Aquarius Films on season 1 as well, so they were part of that development process. In terms of fleshing out which storylines and characters we wanted to keep and explore further, but ensuring that we were lifting it to an Australian sensibility. We then got 6 really sexy scripts and sent it out for casting opportunities. We're able to attract incredible cast off the back of the amazing work that the writers in that room did. And then we went into lockdown, and we somehow managed to continue to shoot that one in Melbourne during, you know, that horrendous lockdown period, especially for Victoria. But, you know, hats off to the producers who did such a phenomenal job, and the cast, you know, and the crew, all of them did an amazing job of being in their bubble. And I think it, you know, silver lining of that was that it created the most amazing family in the crew and the cast that we then got to witness on our screens as a result. So off the back of filming, we went into post, and very quickly it was on air. I think to date, that's been our fastest turnaround in production. So I think it was 9 months from day dot to being on air. So just sort of killed all of us. But I think it's a good example of taking, you know, a very universally thematic storyline, seeping it in Australianness, you know, with the characters and the location, elevating the location to make sure that it felt cinematic and European in a way. Elle Dresner did an amazing job on season 1 of doing that. And then we went to air and launched it all and dropped it all on Boxing Day. It actually went to air on Christmas Day night, I think, secretly. And then, but yeah, the big launch was Boxing Day. So that's sort of a, you know, in a nutshell, the overview of commissioning from being pitched all the way through to getting it on air.
Wow, it was fantastic. I think I remember I binged it in one day over Christmas. It was fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait to see season 2. So look, we might move on to the specific brief for this particular initiative now, and I can see some questions coming through. So look, Pitch on Demand was created to give platforms such as yourself the opportunity to consider the gaps in their slates and to provide a specific brief to Australian producers. can you tell us if Foxtel has had any projects progress from pitch on demand in previous years? And by Foxtel, I mean, of course, Binge as well.
It has. It's so fantastic, actually. We last year, Alison Herbert Burns, who is my boss, she did the pitch on demand for Foxtel and Binge, and we received, I think it was 89 pitches off the back of that session that she did, at the back of that call out. And we narrowed that down to taking pitch meetings with 5 or 6 producers in total. We're actually still in active discussions with a number of those people, but we did put one into official development a couple of weeks ago. I'm so excited about that project. I think it's going to be the next big thing, very early days. So the concept, I won't tell you too much about it, but it's essentially a one-pager that got pitched. And then obviously the pitch, then verbal pitch expanded on that one pager. And both Ali and I were just so excited by the territory that it was playing in. So again, very early days. We haven't gone into the writer's room yet. We're hoping to do that come November. But yeah, it's I hope it's a good example of our intention to be working with producers that we haven't worked with before, writers and voices we haven't worked with, as well as the people that we do know, and that opportunities like pitch on demand are something that we do take really seriously, because it is an opportunity for us to tell you what we're looking for, and then, you know, with the right idea, we will put it into development and follow that process through.
Fantastic. It's so exciting. So look, we'll get onto your specific brief. Just for everyone listening today, the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, if you can direct any questions that way. And I'll get Lana to, would you like to go ahead and present your brief today of what you're looking for?
Absolutely. And excuse me, everyone, I am going to read from my screen. I just want to make sure that I'm really articulate and I'm clear with our brief. So pardon my reading. So Binge is looking for brand-defining Australian stories which will appeal to a broad demographic. We pride ourselves on our legacy of commissioning bold, provocative, and conversation-starting content that is premium in style and tone while being broad thematically. Distinctly, but not achingly Australian stories with universal themes are important to us. Given that I commissioned for both Binge and the Foxtel platform, we now have our biggest audience for local originals in the history of Foxtel original drama. We're catering to 2 slightly different audiences, with Foxtel skewing 56 years plus and Binge averaging around 15 years younger. So say 40, 45 years old is our sweet spot for Binge, with 50% of our audience on Binge being under 45 years old. The areas we are commissioning in are crime, elevated relationship drama, and comedy. But given the recent success of the critically acclaimed Binge original series Love Me and Colin from Accounts, we are currently in market for tonally lighter drama and comedy series with the potential to return. So the focus for me of this pitch on demand is to find the next comedy or dramedy series for Binge.
Fantastic. Thank you. So just on it says scripted comedy and scripted dramedy are the 2 specifically for this brief today. Could you have a specific duration of episodes that you're after? I know Love Me was the sort of longer 45-minute and Colin from Accounts was like a shorter 8 by 27 minutes.
No, and that's what's exciting about commissioning for a streamer, is that we're not bound by programming or slots to fill on the slate. So no, whatever is suitable or best suited for the story, format-wise, length-wise. And quite often we find that when we go into development of something, we might see it as an 8 by half hour, but it ends up being a 10 by half or a 4 by half. Development will further flesh out the format, so don't be too bound by format. But I wouldn't go any sort of shorter than 25 minutes. You know, we are in long form television, not 10 minutes or 5-minute web series that are length. It's definitely that half an hour or above. But I will actually give another example. On our prior season 2, we really fluctuated depending on what was required for the character journeys in each episode. So some episodes were 22 minutes and other episodes were 45 minutes, and that was in just one series. So yeah, we're not bound by format whatsoever.
Okay, great to know. And just for this specific initiative, because we are looking at scripted comedy, scripted dramedy, will you take pictures outside of what you're looking for, or only what fits the brief here?
I really want to keep it to this brief. And the reason for that being is that I'm really excited about finding fresh voices in this space, very specifically to comedy. If it's a drama show that has those laugh out loud moments, then big tick. So that's that dramedy space or drama with comedy. But yeah, my main focus is really on those two genres for this.
Okay, great. And Australian comedy seems to travel so well globally, which is really exciting.
Absolutely.
Can I ask if there is a certain scale or budget range that you were looking for?
No. So that's the other good thing about working for a big company, is that we're not bound by specific budgets. Obviously, we always would pay the Screen Australia minimum license fee and then look to potentially top up per episode on top of that, depending on the show and the cast ambitions, and it really is show dependent. So don't feel like your idea is too big or too small to bring to us. I think that there is flexibility with that depending on the idea.
Okay, great. And are you co-commissioning or doing co-productions?
Yes, we actually recently announced Mixtape, which is a 4x1 hour co-production with an Irish production company. So it's still set, well, primarily set in Australia, but it does have a English aspect or English component. So yes, we are very open to co-commissions and co-production opportunities.
Okay. Just notice there's a lot of questions coming in here, so we'll come back to those in a second. And can I just ask, how market ready does the project need to be in order to submit to Pitch on Demand?
I mean, this is a really tough question because I really want to be open to finding new voices, and I know that sometimes means that there's not as many materials or as much development previously done. So, I'm kind of open. It really depends on the materials that you already have and what the story is. It's just so story dependent. The most optimum pitch would be a Bible or an overview of some description plus a pilot script. That would be big ticks for me, because it not only gives me an overview and understanding of the story that you want to tell and the characters that we're exploring that story through, but it also gives me a real indication of the tone and the style of the show through that pilot script. So the preference would be those two elements, but the Pitch on Demand last year, we put a project into development off the back of a one-pager. So it really is project dependent.
So maybe it's like if people submit their one-pager for Pitch on Demand, and then if you're excited by the one-pager, you'd like to see a Bible and an overview from there, maybe like the episode script.
Preferably,
yeah,
yes.
Great. So all of you listening, it'd be great to have that ready to go if you're selected to the next round. Okay, I might so we've got some great questions coming in. Can I just ask, when you look for an A-list cast on a binge original, do you want that cast to include non-Australian actors?
Yeah, we're really open. As an Australian broadcaster, we do have a regulation that stipulates that a certain amount of cast members must be Australian, which is why we look for Australian stories as well. But by no means do all of the cast need to be Australian. And in fact, often we do identify specific characters throughout development that could not be Australian in order to attract international financing for our projects or international co-commission opportunities. So again, it's story and character dependent, but that's sort of how we look at all of our projects.
Okay, great. And someone has asked here, if there is prominent talent attached, but they don't have a producer on board yet, should we still send in our pitch materials?
That's a hard one. I hate turning down story ideas, but I do really prefer there to be a producer attached, just because that person becomes sort of the key operator for me as the commissioner, in terms of actually pulling everything that we need to achieve together. So I would highly recommend you have a producer attached to your concept.
That's great. So that answers the next question as well, which is about accepting standalone writers' pitches as well. So, and let me see. Does romantic comedy fit this brief potentially? I think we have answered that, but just to clarify, yep.
Big yes. Big yes.
Big yes, romantic comedy. And let's see. When you say relationship drama, romantic or family relationships?
Yeah, so one of the 3 areas of commissioning for us is elevated relationship drama. So for me, Love Me fits into that category. And given the success of Love Me, I'm constantly thinking, well, what's next? What's the next Love Me? And it doesn't need to look like Love Me season 3, but it's what else is in that potentially multi-gen or intergenerational family space that's real relationship, complex relationship drama with complex layered characters, but that is tonally lighter, that gives you a bit of a laugh but isn't afraid of exploring those darker themes. So I feel like for pitch on demand, I really do want to be leaning into more of the comedy angle, but if you do have a elevated relationship drama, it is an area of our commissioning strategy that's always open. So yeah, feel free to get in touch.
Okay. Is there a preference for ensemble or single protagonist stories?
No, although I do feel like this is something I think about a lot, to be honest. No, short answer is no. I'm really open to either. But I do think that an ensemble piece does offer an ability to provide multiple access points for a broader demographic. So when you consider who's watching our platform, I always think about what shows we want to be making or producing, commissioning from a customer perspective and what they want to be watching. So if I think about who I want to attract to binge, maybe it's families. What is the optimum relationship comedy that's going to attract a family? And it's usually an ensemble piece because it provides access points for the kids and the parents. So I do feel like there's a little bit more flexibility in the offering if we do have an ensemble piece. It doesn't need to be a big ensemble. It could be like a Love Me and just have the 3 leads at the core. Like Colin, there's the 2 leads at the core. But again, really, really open. But I do feel like an ensemble piece does tend to attract the broader demographic, which is what I aim to do.
Fantastic. Just have a quickly. Would you consider dark comedy?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Great. I just have a quick look through here. Do we need to provide budget range when pitching? I think we answered that one. Do you require an experienced EP to be on board if the producer pitching is emerging, the talent pitching?
No, I feel like with that, again, depending on the ambition of the show, we'd probably pay you up with we've done it a number of different ways in the past. So there have been examples with our historic slate where we would partner up lesser experienced practitioners with really experienced practitioners because the story was global or whatever it may have been. But again, it's case by case. I'm happy to take a swing on an emerging producer or practitioner if we put the right scaffolding in place. For example, if there's a really fantastic director that's going to come on board who's sort of going to be that HOD that's running the ship and the producer's there to facilitate for them, then that it kind of depends on the makeup. But know that you don't need to have an experienced executive producer on board. And if we do feel like you need one, I will help build that with you.
That's fantastic. And are you open to like sci-fi comedies?
Sci-fi becomes genre generally becomes a little niche. I don't want to say no to anything because you never know where the next great idea is coming from. But I do feel like sci-fi or supernatural, they're probably a little bit left of field for us right now, just because I am looking to facilitate opportunity to attract a broader demographic, and those sort of more niche genres become a niche offering. So I would probably shy away from sci-fi or supernatural for now.
So more real world.
Yeah, contemporary, modern,
Yeah.
grounded. Yeah.
And is there a skew towards male or female?
No, I mean, the ambition is always to attract a 50-50 audience. Naturally, being scripted, our audience does skew more female. I think there is an opportunity to find the next big comedy that will attract the boys or the gents to the platform. But something like Colin from Accounts was actually really evenly male-female skewed. I think it provided a really unique co-viewing opportunity for families and couples. The ambition is to be 50-50. Naturally, we skew slightly more female, but I'm open to attracting either or both, all of the above.
Okay, great. Oh, you have questions coming in thick and fast, so we only have a few minutes left. But look, one thing I guess to clarify as well, we have a question about animation. So you're looking for animation or it's specifically live action?
Specifically live action as part of this opportunity, but stay tuned because I feel like animation could be something that we explore in the near future. I would never say no to that, but not for right now.
Right, okay, but watch this space.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about feature films?
So, yes, I am in business for feature films. I will be really honest and say that the strategy isn't well defined at the moment. I think we're open to exploring the right feature film if it comes across our desk. So again, it's a kind of a watch this space, but if you have something that you think I have to be making that Ali and I would lose sleep over not making, then please do pitch it to us.
Okay. Maybe that's the next one, we'll see.
Yes.
What about for this brief again, what about a murder mystery comedy?
I actually quite like that. Yeah, I think that's it's probably, it's interesting because it's more grounded than some of the other genres. So yes, let's say yes.
That's great. Action dramedy.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes to everything.
Okay, historical romance comedy. I think we covered that you're more interested in contemporary. Female skewed or gender neutral. I think we covered that. Apocalyptic comedy. I think we covered that. It's a no. We're looking at more real world contemporary. Does binge have a desired turnaround time from development into production and then into release? I feel like we may have, you mentioned Love Me, but is there a more specific like desired turnaround time?
No, in fact, I really do, feel as though we need to spend time in development or ample time in development to achieve the ambition of the storytelling that we want to be showing audiences. So no, however, I will say as part of the development process, as we're working through things together, sometimes we'll identify the perfect time of year that we'd love for that particular show to come out. We don't commission to fill a slate, we commission to curate and accent a slate. But sometimes a time slot will come up and we go, oh my goodness, given that's happening and this is happening, we would love to have this project ready for then. And then we'll work backwards together with our production partners. But majority of the time we put things into development to see where it goes. And if it takes a year, if it takes 18 months, if it takes 5 years, so be it. It just takes as long as it takes.
Okay, great. Look, I think we're running out of time. So just so for everyone watching in terms of pitch on demand brief, we have scripted comedy or scripted dramedy. Those are the two options that you'll have when you are submitting to the portal. The portal and this webinar will then be made live after this event as well on the website, so you can have a look. And then the applications will open tomorrow at midday. So look, thank you so much for your time today, Lana. Is there anything you wanted to add before we sign off for today?
Just a big thank you to you, Jess, and to SPA and to everyone that joined today. I cannot wait to read your pictures, and thank you for wanting to work with me and the team at Binge and Foxtel.
Thank you, Lana.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining. Bye.